much weight, but now we feel weightless, love in the fat nap. Hold tight K, up in the place, we don't backtrack. I shut a building down, I'll have the raver shouting out rap rap. Don't use Snapchat, test my patience, and I might snap back. My man, did you catch that? Comedy's running the last lap. Hold tight K, up in the place, no we don't what? Hold tight K, up in the place, no we don't. I got the backing, no backtracking. See my team's ultimate and the cards without we ain't packing. MCs get smoked like Mayfair, ask around me boy I got backing. I'll tell a bitch don't lay there, don't play fair, put your back in. Wind them up and I style it up, my timing up cause I dial it up. These wish MCs should liven up, one by one I won't line them up. Line them up, line them up, line them up, no backtracking. See my team's ultimate and the cards without we ain't packing. MCs get smoked like Mayfair, ask around me boy I got backing. I'll tell a bitch don't lay there, don't play fair, put your back in. Wind them up and I style it up, my timing up cause I dial it up. These wish MCs should liven up, one by one I won't line them up. Wait. Took one break, but now I'm still here with the decks and the mic on. There's too many snakes out here, like who's that vexing my mind on? See me, I got demons, and I can't see them, best leave lights on. See, we are not even, we not Steven, look like right Johns. Hold tight K, up in the place, no we don't backtrack. They can give me a snap back. Hold tight K, up in the place, no we don't what? Hold tight K, up in the place, no we don't backtrack.
Riots, and I'll play my games. Go ahead, do you, cause I'll do the same. And I know we'll bloom, cherry blossom flames. Tracing skin, we're making shapes, and no one can replicate us. Yeah, winter came, still you blew me away with a heat that saturates, butter melting on your plate. Don't need to complicate a simplistic state of two honeys in a tray. Boy, you know you make my day. You can be hard to find, still so am I. A chasing game we do got me in a state of mind, on a cherry high, from making shapes with you. Don't worry if it's sharp, don't worry if it's hard, it's all we ever do. You can be hard to find, still so am I, from making shapes with you.
Yo, what up, everybody? We got a dope show coming. Episode 521 of the Spawn of Me podcast. Rocking here on X, Twitch, and YouTube. Had a quick technical issue, so I had to shut the stream down, but get it back up. We're good to go.
Like a wooden rocking horse, you and I joined by the tips, toffee apple on your lips. You might think we're risking grace, but we're chancing for our needs. Rising up, climbing up, oh he waters me. You can be hard to find, still so am I. A chasing game we do got me in a state of mind, on a cherry high, from making shapes with you. Don't worry if it's sharp, don't worry if it's hard, it's all we ever do. You can be hard to find, still so.
Spawn On Me is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Chicago, y'all.
Yo, what up, everybody? This is the Spawn On Me podcast with Khalif Adams. I'm your host, Khalif Adams. I hope you're having a wonderful, amazing August and into September. It is right around the corner. We are about to get into Q4 of the year, which is madness, seeing how quick this year has gone. It is nuts. It has been a busy week. I have just celebrated my birthday a couple days ago, so this is a dope in-between late night birthday stream. We're doing this fairly late and much later than we usually do our recordings, but wanted to definitely get something in before we go to PAX tomorrow. I'll be in Seattle going and hanging out with all the dope folks in Chicago and across the gaming and video game world over in Seattle at PAX, doing it up, hanging with dope folks who are already there and making it happen out there. Massive love to everybody who's come through late on this super impromptu stream, and making sure that if you are a fan of what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review. It is the easiest way to be able to support the show. It gives us nothing but more visibility, more ability to do the dope things that we get a chance to do, and we get a chance to do that alongside all of you here in Chicago. This week is going to be a pretty quick show because we had a lot of things that kind of came through the pipe over the past week. You know, there's been conversations around Indiana Jones moving to PS5, which I don't think is a real story. There's a lot of conversations about what I got a chance to see at Gamescom in LA. Xbox had a really dope event where they brought some of their games over to LA while they were doing their thing over in Germany at Gamescom. And a lot of great stuff. I'm going to give a couple of quick thoughts about my time playing Wukong, which has been the game of the month, I would say. I think a lot of folks are really digging on that game and having a blast with it. And I'll have a couple of quick thoughts about Star Wars Outlaws as well. So let's get into the show and let's go into the 411. Yo, so this week on the 411, we're going to talk a little bit about all the things I got a chance to check out at Gamescom. I had a blast going and hanging out with so many folks in the space because it was so cool to be able to have all of the goodness come through and get a chance to see so many amazing games and so many great people. It was so much fun to go and see and have like just great discussions about, you know, how things are working in the video game industry, how things are working in the content creation industry. I had like a really dope moment where I was hanging out with Andrea Renee from What's Good Games, you know, Jeff Gersman from the Jeff Gersman Show, and, you know, hanging out with Paris and Janet Garcia from MinMax and all these other amazing folks in the content creation space, folks who I look up to and folks who I appreciate their work, and just breaking down all of those things. So it was a really good time to be together and have that camaraderie, and that'll translate over to what we wind up doing over at PAX as well. So that's going to be super cool once that comes through. Shout out to Pool Golden over on YouTube, watching the channel and watching the stream this evening as well. I got a chance to check out some really dope stuff. So look, I got a chance to check out Avowed, a game that a lot of people have been talking about and wondering about how that game is going to come to be and what is it going to wind up kind of feeling like. I think it was a game that was in the space in terms of mind share that people were worried about for a small amount, trying to understand, you know, if that game was really going to pull together, you know, the visuals and the storytelling that Obsidian is known for, and all of the discussions around, you know, when it was becoming, you know, what this game is going to wind up being. And I came away from it, you know, really excited for what I got a chance to see. You know, we had a really dope interview with the developers that you're watching here if you're watching the live show. And if you're watching the audio and video versions on Spotify and YouTube, make sure you go check out the video versions of the interview as well, because there was so much goodness in there. And I came away from it just like really hyped for what they're building in that world. I got a chance to check out 3 different classes: a barbarian, a ranger, and a spellcaster, a mage. And each one of them played really, really well. I think the combinations of melee combat and ranged combat worked extremely well. It felt like a mashup of, Skyrim and Outer Worlds with some of the stuff you can do in there. In this fantastical world built on the Pillars of Eternity franchise, and now it's kind of coming together and bringing all of that to the forefront was really well done. Spent about an hour and some change playing the game, and it was, it was fantastic. I had a blast going through and checking out all the builds, and, it felt like this game, if you're a person who wants to role play, you don't have to worry about being pigeonholed into a certain kind of spec. You can play as a character who is, carrying a spell book and has a barbarian's axe in the other hand. You can dual wield pistols to be able to, to kind of have that ranged combat, or shoot a bow, or have a companion whose name was, I believe, Kai. And Kai was, jumping into the fray and jumping in and doing some commands that I asked him to do to make sure that, he was aggroing some of the enemies while also, dealing damage to some of them as well. Like, the game feels much more complete than you would expect for, something that has a couple more months in the oven, and maybe even, like 5 or 6 more months in the oven that it needs to kind of bake and get right. But I came away from that demo really excited about Avowed. I think all the questions I had before that were, up in the air about, do I know if this game is going to be ready? Does this game feel like it's going to be good? The character designs and the enemy designs, when they're not really reacting to the way that, you hit them, that feels better. Environments feel vibrant and beautiful and gorgeous. The animations on the faces of the characters that you talk to, and the way that the character trees and the discussion trees are kind of laid out, felt very comparable. Like, it felt like they had done all the work to make sure this game is feeling really fantastic. And as a positivity peddler, I like talking about games and them being good. So, I'm sorry if people are mad at me for liking things and thinking that things are good when I do get a chance to check them out. So, it's one of those discussions that has also bubbled up in the video game industry over the past couple of weeks, which is a whole other level of madness to be able to get into. But that being said, it was really great. I'm very excited for what Avowed is going to be. Definitely go check out that interview that we did with the team from Obsidian, because I think there was a lot of really good tidbits in there about like how they're thinking about building these worlds, and how they're thinking about kind of, expanding the layers of the game that you can play and get into. And it was really dope. Like, I have no complaints. I had nothing that came away from it when I was like, that didn't really hit in the way it was. My favorite build, though, of at least kind of character, because there isn't really like an archetype, was the mage one, though, because you could do cool stuff. Like, you have multiple layers and multiple like configurations of spells that you can use. The elemental stuff works really well. It's kind of the ones that you already know, like a poison, a lightning, a fire, those kinds of elemental effects that you have. And those sometimes are placed on your weapons as well, which really changes the way that you fight. And that was really fun to kind of balance those things out. And combat felt really cool. Like, I did not feel like I was ever trying to do something in that game and felt like I was pigeonholed into not being able to do it. I was absolutely able to do everything that I wanted to do. Pooh Golden in our YouTube chat is saying Blood Mage was hot. Yeah, it's super cool. Like, I got a chance to check out that version of it, and it was really great. Didn't feel like, melee and ranged stuff was fighting each other. Didn't feel like either one was deficient. Felt like it was all extremely good. So that was a blast to get a chance to check out Avowed and go and see what that was looking like, and and feeling like and get that exclusive kind of interview and discussion to be able to have with them. That was fantastic. Another game that I got a chance to check out that I thought was really fun was Funko Fusion. And Funko Fusion is a blast. It is one of those like super chill, really fun, vibe out with your homies, just hang out and play, feel like you're in a space where you can just do whatever you want and just like enjoy the space. Like, the design was really cool. The gameplay itself was fun. They're doing storytelling in a way that just feels really fresh. And as a game that I was not checking for, when we got the kind of, like, hey, these are going to be the games you'll be able to see, I came away a huge fan of Funko Fusion. Like, it is a game that I will absolutely be playing. It makes me wish that I could figure out a way to get some Spawn on Me stuff into the game. I'm like, hey, Funko people, let's do some collaborative stuff. I want to do some co-branding, co-marketing stuff, and do some real fun things there. But like, this is a game that you'll play with your children. This is a game that you can play on your own as an adult and feel like you're gonna have a fun time. And it had all of these really just like well done, riffs on, the Funko brand, and it doesn't take itself seriously at all. These really big-headed Funkos just running around shooting each other and beating each other up and smacking each other around. Like, that thing was so much fun. And it comes down to like, not only are you having these kind of open world spaces, but you're having these quests that you're going on of like, all right, you got to save a certain Funko from these other Funkos trying to hurt it. Or, you have to go and kind of collect these pieces of, what feel like Legos around the world, and do these things that are connected to this larger story that your character is kind of going through in the Funko world. And it's cool, man. Like, I, as a person who is just not into Funkos, this made me kind of excited and understand why people like it. Like, this was the thing that kind of brought me across the line to be like, oh, I totally understand why now people like this thing and are collecting these things and feel so, connected to this universe and to this world. And it's done really well. Like, they're doing the tongue-in-cheek stuff. There's a lot of cameo things in there. They're playing with brands and IP in a fun way that I think a lot of people will appreciate. I was just like really hyped and really excited to do more stuff with that team and bring them on the show, hopefully soon, to talk about, their inspirations and what kind of things that they were looking for and thinking about when they kind of built this game. Because it's dope. Like, I'm giving them massive props for making me care about something that I didn't think that you would really like spend time with in those ways. It's really cool. So I'm excited for that in much larger ways. I'm very, very hyped for that. Also, shout out to Mohammed, who just jumped in the chat from our YouTube channel as well, watching live as we do the show. Next game that I thought was really, really fun was Towerborn. Towerborn was one of my games of the show. I think Towerborn is going to be one of those games that really pulls together so much of why we play games. Super fun. Brought to you from the folks from Banner Saga, the team from Stoic. This is a 4-player co-op beat 'em up game that has RPG and loot elements in it. And it feels extremely good. They're going into early access soon. I'm very excited for this. I got a chance to sit down with the team. I didn't do an interview with them yet, but we're going to get them on the show very, very soon. But like, everything about this game is what I love about video games. It is gorgeous. It is super, super fun. It gives you like those Thirsty Panda in our chat says, gives us those Castle Crasher vibes, which is totally true. What I love about this game is that you have all of these different kinds of weapon types that you can use, and you're all kind of building towards, finishing these levels, but it doesn't feel like anyone is losing out on the battle. It doesn't feel like anyone's going to lose out on loot when you wind up getting them at the end of a round. It's very much like dress the way you want, make your characters feel the way you want, make them look the way you want, so you can have that balance between, playing a certain style and looking the way that you do and looking the way you want to, while having this very, very just like easy pick up and play, beat 'em up style kind of game. And I came away from that, super, super excited too. Like that was a game that I was like, okay, I can see what you're trying to do. But then when you get your hands on the sticks, you're like, oh wow, this is like actually really, really well done in a way that I didn't expect. So that was extremely cool too. I was like, oh man, like this is going to be a thing that was, not on my radar, but now it's like definitely on my radar. I want this, and I've been dying to play more of it. And this is the thing where I'm hoping to get a bunch of friends together. We sit down, and this will be a good, fun, drunk game to play, vibe out, hang out, talk a bunch of crap, and just run through these levels and play them against some big bads that are in there too, which I thought was really dope. Like I think the enemy variety is great. The styling on those enemies is beautiful and well done, and it just makes me want to see more about this world. And again, when you have a pedigree like Stoic does with a game like Banner Saga, which is known for its art style and known for how gorgeous it looks at every turn, then it just tells you that this team is going to be killing it in terms of making you want to be able to check out those things in those ways. So very excited for that, and very hyped for what I get a chance to check out when that bad boy comes back out. Hopefully very, very soon. I'm hoping that we get a chance to play more of it very, very soon. I think it's going to be exciting to check out. But man, I'm very hyped for what that game is going to be. Next story for the 411 is all about the PS5 Pro coming in a couple of weeks. We've had some rumors about what this game is supposed to be. We've had some rumors about, this game supposedly being, this console supposedly being very close to being shown. Again, we all know that this is a ton of speculation. A French streamer, a French blogger and kind of known leaker found some information that was leading towards a discussion about whether this is real, and it feels like people are saying that there is more fire than smoke here. There's been lots of conversations on the internet now because of what this potential leak is and what does this mean on, are we ready for a revamped PS5 Pro? What does this mean in terms of specs, which I have not actually seen a lot of actual discussion about specs. I've not seen that yet. Of course, it would have to be more powerful than this particular, the current versions of PS5s. But, what does it mean for the future of games? It looks like Dia Labs is the reliable leaker. I'm sorry, the article was on Dia Labs, and the leaker, Billy Bokun, okay, say that 3 times fast, supposedly saw the mid-gen refresh, which is this. Supposedly has 2 USB-C ports in the front, and potentially does not have a disk drive on it, which again is, something that could be in the mix and makes a lot of sense because they've already talked about and shown a diskless version of the PS5. I mean, I don't know yet, right? We don't know if this is a necessary thing. I mean, here's the things that we do know from a conversation around the internet that is consistent and constant. One, this generation, a lot of people are poo-pooing on it and then be like, this is the worst generation ever in video games in terms of hardware, which I disagree with. I think that's a little bit hyperbolic. But the promises of this generation from a hardware perspective have not come to pass, which is true. I think that's a fundamental thing that I think a lot of people will not disagree with. We were supposed to be in the era of 4K 60 as a baseline, and we've not seen many games hit that mark. It is a difficult mark to hit. It is not easy to program and make happen on the games that you play. And this is now a thing that people who have had these discussions for a while are like, well, maybe now with a hardware refresh on the PS5, and we know there's a hardware refresh coming from the Xbox team, that this is what gets us to the promise of 4K 60. Again, all of these conversations have been made rumors. These are all rumors. No one knows any of the official specs of what a PS5 Pro could be. No one knows if it's coming very soon, even though people are talking about this being a thing that comes in a couple of weeks. I don't know if this is actual news yet, because I don't think it is. Not yet. Until Sony officially does something in a state of play or something to that effect, then that makes a lot of sense to be able to get really excited or potentially get excited. Or, you know, does this do enough to get people more excited about the brand? Who knows? No one knows yet. Folks who are still in their camps are going to be in their camps, and anybody else is going to be moving. There isn't a lot of meat on that bone necessarily to be able to say, all right, this is going to change the game in a fundamental way. When, to be fair, the thing that is the biggest issue right now in terms of the gaming industry from a consumer perspective is there is very little trust in either brand. There's no trust in developers, which is wild. There's no trust in the gaming press, which has been kind of consistent and constant for the past decade. And what I continue to see is that gamers are upset about things that they are either talked about being upset about and then have flip-flopped about and then are changing their minds on it. Things that they think they understand about the development process but don't, and are still asking for in ways that don't necessarily reflect the limitations of the current hardware space. And if you do get to a newer space, what does that mean? And even with all of that said, we have in the biggest drop of games that we've seen in a long time, games that are decent, games that are good, games that are not so great, and everybody, or at least on the internet, is still mad. Like, nobody's happy about anything, even though there are some pretty good and fun games to play out right now, with more on the horizon, with more stuff coming down the pipeline very, very soon. We got Black Ops coming. We got, you know, new content in Mortal Kombat. We have Plucky Squire, the game that I'm really excited about. That's coming soon. You got Concord out right now that has had very, very mixed reviews. I personally love it. I think it's really, really good. But the internet hates it for some strange reason because it's either woke or not good enough. It's an Overwatch clone that's not an actual Overwatch clone. So there's a lot of pieces here in the larger discussion that even if a PS5 Pro comes out into the world, will anybody be happy? I can't be happy because I'm a positivity peddler, so I'm not allowed to be happy. So I will just be salty about everything on the internet while also actually liking and playing shit. Because I think that's the biggest thing right now is like everybody's mad about stuff that they're not playing. And I'm like, how are you going to be mad at the thing you're not even enjoying or touching or being, you know, connected to in any real way? So like, what is actually happening here in all of these faux conversations? There has been some layers of this that talk about this being a $700 machine. If it's $700, I don't think I'd be able to. I don't know if it would be worth it in that respect. I don't know yet what you would have to do to make a $700 machine worth it in this market, in this economy, with people being mad at paying $40 for a game and being like $700 is okay. It would be really interesting to see how the market responds to it and see how many people are kind of raising the flag and being like, this is a good thing. Because that would be really interesting to see where that lands in terms of the larger conversation, because the conversation around pricing right now is all over the place. I don't have any sense of where it's landing, where it's supposed to be. Everybody wants everything to be free to play, but also complains about microtransactions. So I don't know where it lands in the larger sense of what this means for things going forward. But if this is real and this is a thing that's coming out very soon, I hope that we get a chance to review a copy of it, or not a copy, review a unit to be able to check out what the feel of this thing is. Does it feel like you're getting more horsepower in there? Does it feel like you're actually getting more bang for your buck while you buy this thing in this way? You know, who knows what those conversations are actually going to be if this is what we're going to wind up getting. I mean, it looks really sexy in red. That's all I can say. Because I love red. Red is my favorite color. Anyway, We're going to take a quick break. We're going to jump over to what I've been playing. And shout out to Send Nuggies and Zach Bussey for being in the chat. We have a lot more Spawn on Me. We got a couple more conversations around some games I was playing on the back half of a quick break. But we're going to do a quick ad, and we'll be right back after this. Hey everybody, Khalif here from the Spawn on Me podcast. Hey, we have been in the market for new PCs for a long time, and for our 10th year anniversary, the wonderful folks from NZXT have partnered with us in a collab to be our hardware sponsors. So, if you are looking for a new PC to stream or to game in the best way possible, go check out nzxt.co/spawnonmebld, and you'll be able to find a perfect PC for you, whether that be the Player 1 machine, Player 2 machine, or Player 3 machine. The ones that we're rocking for our new studio build. They have everything you possibly could need for the best PC experience on the planet. Remember to go check out nzxt.co/spawnonmebld, and they will get you set up right. Much love and peace.
Hey there, my name is Naomi, and you might know me from internet things like hosting for IGN. I'd like to introduce you to my new show, This Week in Gaming. It's 20 minutes, short and sweet, and every week I go through all the important gaming news that you need to know, and then we have folks on like Khalif Adams, who shows up quite often, talk about all the important news. And you get to listen to it wherever you get your podcast, so it's easy to find. Just look for This Week in Gaming and make sure to give it a follow. And every week, Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, you get a brand new episode. I hope you'll join me.
Welcome back to the Spawn on Me podcast. Make sure you go and check out Naomi's dope show. Yeah, it's like ad inception. It's like me over NZXT, me in This Week in Gaming, me doing all this stuff. It's cool, right? It's kind of dope. Anyway, always fun to be able to go and hang out with her because she's brilliant and so cool. She's amazingly fun. And I love doing the show with her when I get asked to come through and come hang out and do some of that goodness there. So there are a couple of games that I've been playing on the back half of the show. And again, thanks everybody for listening here on X, on Twitter, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And look, I have been playing a ton of Black Myth Wukong, and I understand the fervor and the love that this game is getting. It is one of the most beautiful games I've seen in a very long time. I feel like it scratches that itch for the folks who have finished, their Elden Ring runs, and the folks who have not bought into Bloodborne getting a 60 frames per second version anytime soon. I think the folks behind this game have done a really good job of mashing up, what is basically a boss rush game and something that is in between what an Elden Ring is and a Dragon's Dogma kind of game. I think the abilities that you have are super cool. I think the promise for what this game is in the space is actually really interesting. But I have to say, from a narrative perspective, I am bored out of my mind. I like what this game is trying to do, but I'm playing it and I'm bored. I'm at that space now where I need a Souls-like break. I need the industry to chill out for a minute and calm down on the genre. I need the internet to calm down and stop making this sound like it is the best thing since sliced bread. I think it's good. I personally would rate it like a 7 out of 10. I think it's a decent game for what these folks are trying to make it out to be. But people are talking about like Shroud was famous gamer Shroud, who's been in the space for a very long time, who I like a lot. I think he's really good at what he does. Was like, if this game doesn't get Game of the Year, then it's fake news, basically. And this game is not Game of the Year's material. This game is decent. This game is not great. Not for me. I think it's okay. I think what it's trying to do is really interesting. I think the elements that it's trying to pull together, they're doing semi-well, but they do a terrible job of teaching you how to play the game in terms of its mechanics. I think some of the things come together and pull themselves through. I think the move sets that you have are also, They're cool when you pop out. And I was gonna say the end of that Kendrick Lamar thing. It's cool when it pops out and you get a chance to check out the kind of individual, spells that you get that do something really interesting in that space. But in terms of like the overall game, like I don't feel like this is a game that in 6 months people are going to be talking about. I don't think this is going to be a game that is going to be in any running for game of the year. I don't think this is going to be a game that people are going to think on as fondly as an Elden Ring. And I've been trying to wrap my brain around, like, why do I feel like those are the pieces there that make those big differences so stark? Is I want this game to be better in some areas in a way where it feels like it's more impactful in the way that you come across, the way you are extending your abilities towards the enemies. Like, the cool thing I think is great about the other games in these kinds of series is that there is a good amount of exploration, and a game like a Souls-like is all about peaks and valleys, right? You want those high moments when you're in a boss battle to feel memorable. And in between that, you're searching for things. You're looking for lore. You're investigating the world. You're checking out things and being like, oh, this biome is really interesting because now we're in this area of the world. It feels different. It sounds different. The enemies are different. All of those things feel, connected to the world specifically in the ways you're doing. And it has some of that stuff in Black Myth Wukong, but it does a poor job of pulling you along in a way that makes you care about any of it. Like, the start of this game is extremely strong. Feels like a over-the-top kung fu movie. It feels like, the Titans kind of stuff. Attack of the Titans kind of stuff. The big world of like massive kind of stuff in there, in those things. Those pieces feel really, really interesting to start. But as soon as you go from that place to start the game, there's a whole beginning chapter where you don't learn anything really about why you're doing any of this stuff. At least that's the way it's played for me. Maybe I'm missing stuff. I don't think I am. I just started the second chapter most recently. And like, you finally get story bits at the beginning of chapter 2 that make sense, that ground the world, that makes it feel like you should care about this little monkey man that you use in the fight as a god against all these other gods. It's literally a gods versus gods story. It is like God of War in that way, where you're like basically climbing Mount Olympus and fighting all of these other gods and all these other demons and all these other characters in this world, all these big bosses, but there's like no exposition as to why. You have a small piece of that at the beginning that's like, don't mess up my mountain and don't kill my people. But like, anything besides that is carried by the lore and the story that is not inside the game. It is all stuff that is known from the lore and the mysticism and story around this character, Journey to the West. It's all of those pieces that people are connecting to, and hardly any of that is in the game at all. And it like Salty says in the chat, there's an expectation for you to know that. And I'm like, that's the worst way to tell a story. That's the problem with a lot of games. Is like, it's like Destiny 1 version of the way they taught you to not do lore. The biggest problem with Destiny 1 was all the dope lore was in the Grimoire cards. And they said, don't do that anymore, right? I understand that this is a market that is, this is a game that is for an Eastern market, maybe, but if it's been in the West and it's been marketed in the West, like, you should be doing the work of having that exposition in the game to make me care about it. And because you took so long to do it, now I don't care. And now I'm like, oh, whatever. Give me the next big thing, the next big dumb thing to fight. Like I've tapped out. So it's funny too because I didn't know that I would care so much about exposition, but I've been spoiled by games like Dragon's Dogma and spoiled by games like Elden Ring that do that work smartly and interestingly. But this game doesn't do any of that, and it's a big turnoff for me. I'm like, I don't care about why you turn into the cloud and have multiple versions of you, and like I want to know all the reasons why I'm doing all this stuff. And I've docked many points off this game because of that. It doesn't do any of it, and it makes it boring for me. But I'm going to continue to play it. I do want to give it its full go. I do want to finish it. I think the game is not hard enough for me not to finish it. I've beaten most of the bosses in 1 or 2 tries. I've had a couple where it's been multiple tries. But, once you have an understanding of how to use your powers in what order and how fast they kind of regenerate and all that kind of stuff, it makes so many of the fights easier than you expect that, I'm not really struggling with most of those fights in those ways, in ways that you would think. So, this game is okay. It's decent. I'm, the folks who are the most fervent are the ones who think that this game is not woke, and the non-woke conversations in gaming have been fairly wrought with people who think that they're getting wins from all this other stuff. And I'm like, it's an okay game. Like, it's not the be all end all. It's not, the best thing since sliced bread, but it's cool. Like, I think it's an interesting moment within gaming that shows you an alternative to what we see from kind of larger projects. And at the end of the day, I'm happy that they're doing well, because that's a cool thing for their studio and for the folks behind it to be able to make more stuff and make cooler games in the future. That to me is the thing that matters the most, is getting a chance to make really dope and fun things. So, word. Last thing I'll share about the stuff that I've been playing. I've been playing some Outlaws. I've been playing some Star Wars Outlaws, and that game has been pretty fun. Having some fun with it. Excuse me. Check out our interview that we did with Julian Garrity, the creative director, and the cast as well. Those are on YouTube, so please go check those out. There are some bugs that I do think are problematic, and I'm hoping that they fix those. There was also a big bug that got discussed earlier today that would kill some of your progress. I don't know how bad that is, but it sounds like it's a PS5 era on the PS5 issues that they're having with some saves and the cloud saves that are happening over there. So please make sure you're reading. And if you are on social media, go check those things out to go fix those things, because that's not great at all. But also, the biggest thing right now is the world building, which I think is great. And I'm finding I'm having a blast with the world building parts. The aesthetic is, they've nailed Star Wars in so many different ways. It really feels like they've just knocked that out of the park. I love Kay. I love Nix. I think those characters are really interesting as non-Jedis and really bring home something really interesting in that space. The one big hit that I would say, the one big knock I would have on it is the stealth isn't great. Like, for a game that relies on stealth a lot, the, one time you get seen and the mission is over stuff, that's a big turnoff for me as a person who wants to, explore the world and get into it and feel like I'm competent in doing all that stuff. But having one thing knock away 10 to 15 minutes of progression of you trying to sneak your way through a place just hurts that game in such a big way, because look, to be fair, most people don't have time anymore for that as a game mechanic. I'm not saying to make things easy, because there are some great accessibility things in there, but I'm saying you have to also respect the player's time. And I think mechanics like that don't necessarily do that all the time. And that is a little bit rough in the ways that it feels. But I'm still playing through it. I'm having a ton of fun with it. I've been playing a ton of Concord, which again, I've been having a blast with. Been rolling with some dope folks and having some good squads come together. And that game is feeling very, very competent. I know the numbers are supposedly not there, and it's supposedly not being seen, and people are not happy with it, all that kind of stuff. But I have to say, I've been playing with some really fun folks. Bonsai Boy, who's in the chat tonight, and some other dope folks. We've been having a blast with it, and I think if it is a game that I think you should give some time to it. I will also, again, preface, full disclosure, I worked on that game for a year. You'll see my name in the credits. I had a blast. I love the Firewalk team. I'm not reviewing it because I feel like that would be a conflict of interest, but I will say I've been having a blast with it. That game is so dope. It's super fun. And I think you should give it a chance. I think it's worth the $40. They're not charging people for a battle pass, which is a thing that people get mad about. The microtransactions, the transactions of new content will be there for a long period of time. I think what they're doing with story is interesting. I think the world is cool. I'm not going to pitch you on it, but I think you should check it out. I think it's worth the $40 to be able to get into that world and check it out. Lastly, I'm heading over to PAX tomorrow, so I'll be there for a couple of days. I got a couple of games I'm going to go check out. I'm going to be pitching Spawnies to a bunch of folks. If you are listening to our show, where you have a lot of people who listen to the podcast who are in the video game industry, I would love to get your games into 2025 Spawnies. I want to get more dope music folks into the Spawnies. We just got our pitch deck together, and it's looking really, really good. I think we're going to offer some really fun things to a lot of different people if you're looking to partner with us and sponsor our show. And I'm really excited to go hang out with people at PAX for the weekend, for Memorial Day weekend, and get some dope conversations in the mix. I'll probably try to record some stuff there, some impressions of things, and we'll at least be bringing some good conversations back home for next week's show, because I'll also be flying out on a very secret trip to go see a game that I am very excited for, that I can't talk about yet, but you will see a lot of discussions around that. And the Call of Duty beta is happening this weekend, and a lot of stuff is here for embargo. That it is embargo season. It is all the embargoes all the time. So lots of good stuff coming down the pipeline. So massive love to everybody who came through tonight for our show. Massive love to everybody who was in the chat tonight. Send Nuggies, Salty, Bonsai Boy, Zach Bussy. I love Zach. Zach is so good. Go check out Zach's channel. Zach is so good at what he does. Nightwing, Trini Boy. Shout out to Trini, my homie who we play a lot of Call of Duty together with. Unique Technique, a lot of good folks in the chat. Dr. Jones, and many, many others. Please, please, please make sure you follow us on X at Spawn on Me. You follow me on X at Khalif Adams. Please make sure you're leaving us a 5-star review. Again, it really does help us grow. It gives us visibility. The more that we get on that side, the more that the algorithm sees it and gives us some love. Go check us out on TikTok as well, because we'll be clipping out stuff and putting out stuff there as well. And fingers crossed, we may have a really big stream coming up. I'm crossing my fingers in a real way. It might be super, super cool. It might be really fun if we get it to go down. And go check out the time that I was on IGN this past week. I was on IGN again this past week. Thank you, Rock the Legend, for reminding me about what that was, because it was true. I was on Unlocked again with my friend Ryan and Destin, talking about video games with my Grum's anti-Grum shirt. So until next week, because it's freaking Thursday. This will go up tomorrow. You'll get this on the feeds tomorrow. Go check out the YouTube channel at YouTube. I'm sorry, youtube.com/SpawnOnMe, twitch.com/SpawnOnMe. Go to all those places and please give us a follow, give us a sub, all of that goodness. And we're getting up out of here. Much love to you all. Have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Have a lot of fun. Go check out the work on the socials, because you'll see me hanging out with a lot of dope folks. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Much love and peace.
Put me in a state of mind, on a cherry high, from making shapes with you. Don't worry if it's sharp, don't worry if it's hard, it's all we ever do. You could be hard to find, still so am I, from making
Yo, what's good, chat? Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Thank you so much for chilling tonight. It was a really impromptu show. Been trying to get these things together, but it's just been madness trying to get all this Spawny stuff together for, next year, because it's busy. Trying to get this money is hard. But thank you all for coming through tonight. Shout out to everybody who was watching us on X. Shout out to everybody who's watching us on Twitch and YouTube. Love doing this for everybody, and we hope that we get a chance to see you all soon. Much love. Have a wonderful night, and peace. Be good to each other. And wash your hands, wash your butt. Peace.